Yo folks and friends, RC here. Today we're going to be taking a deep, hard look at Krabby. I bet you didn't anticipate you'd be doing that when you got out of bed today, yet here we are. You'll thank me later. Krabby is one of those curious cases of a first stage unevolved Pokemon with an unexpectedly high stat. In Krabby's case, a base 105 attack stat. That is a splendid attack stat for a dinky crab. To put it in perspective, Krabby has even higher attack than the likes of Tauros, Flygon, and Zygarde. Krabby also has a respectable defense stat, but every other stat is trash. So I thought to myself, Self, can we provide Krabby with team support to enable it to humiliate others through the sheer power of unevolved pincers? And Self said, let's take a closer look. Krabby is our little MVP of the team. With sheer force and life orb, it can administer quite the thrashing, but it's rather slow, and it can't take a hit worth crap. Next we have Sylveon, and Sylveon doesn't directly help Krabby, but it is a physical curse set and a plan B in case Krabby fails. Dunsparce is one of the main enablers, as it can baton pass coils and agilities to Krabby, or to Sylveon if it needs to. Mawile is a backup or alternative baton passer, which can pass Swords Dance and Stockpile. And Shelgon is general team support. It can toxic things to wear them down, roar out opponents that try to set up while I set up. And Araquanid is another form of speed support. As it can lay down sticky web, it can also use lunge to lower attack. Let's get into the first battle of the day against
Kirby!
Alright. And Kirby here is a true blue friend because they selected their moves very quickly, which makes editing so much easier. And Kirby is going to lead with Snorlax, as I am going to lead with Araquanid. And hopefully get some sticky webs on the field to make things easier for Krabby later on. I smell a belly drum from a mile away, so I decide to lead with Liquidation just to drop it beneath health where it could actually use belly drum. And we succeeded because it can't use it now even after the citrus berry. It is below half HP, and so we nipped that right in the bud. So with that threat out of the way, let's just goo some sticky fluids onto Kirby's side of the battlefield as Snorlax goes for Headbutt. So we deprived it of its belly drum, and Headbutt seems to be its primary stab here, so I could just finish it off with a Liquidation, but I'm thinking, it's pretty passive now. Let's get some attack lowers on it and see if we can't set up against it to enable Krabby later on. So you'd lunge, get one attack drop, lunge again for a second attack drop, but I greeted too hard here and underestimated how much damage the first lunge had done, because instead of crippling it, we just outright destroy it. So in comes my boy, and my boy's speed is going to drop as a result of the sticky web from earlier. So I am going to resume my earlier tactic of just whittling down their attack a bit. Again, I could cause significantly more damage with Liquidation than I do with Lunge, thanks to Araquanid's ability, as well as the fact that it's holding Mystic Water, but I'm not trying to just straight out KO them. I am trying to position myself to where I can comfortably get some boosts and then baton pass them on to the true star of the show. So next comes in Mawile. We get Intimidate, so its attack goes down yet again. If I were them, I would probably want to switch out at this point, but I'm not. And they don't, which is very good for us, because them staying in is exactly what I wanted to get my hijinks underway. So we are going to get our first stockpile off here and boost both of our defense and special defense, which will help Krabby out a bit, as well as help me to get more boosts to give to Krabby. As I mentioned, Krabby does have decent defense, but it's completely mitigated by its horrible HP. So yeah, another Drain Punch comes our way, and that is just not doing nearly enough damage to worry me at all. The only thing that I'm really concerned about is a crit, because As we all know, crits are always there to ruin your day when things seem to be going along smoothly. So we get another stockpile, and leftovers continues to really dampen the damage that this is causing to me. So they switch it up now and try a Zen Headbutt. I think maybe they were hoping for some flinches, but they did not get it, and we do successfully get a Swords Dance off, and the leftovers just pretty much completely undoes the damage from the Zen Headbutt in the first place. So another incoming Zen Headbutt, probably still fishing for some flinches, though they would need a lot of flinches at this point to stop me, let's be real. And I am going to greed for another Swords Dance. And let me just tell you, over-greeding with these Baton Pass chain sets, that is a recipe for disaster, because sooner or later, the RNG will keep up with you. So with that in mind, I decide, okay, that's enough selfish desire for stats at this point. Let's just Baton Pass before something horrible happens and just ruins the whole plan. So we are going to Baton Pass. Go ahead and grab that stick and get right on out of here as, oh, you know who's coming in now. Not just kidding. It's actually Dunsparce. Ah, I said I was done greeting, but I wasn't done at all, was I? Nah, we're actually going to continue the chain here because I am confident that I can get even more stats onto this Krabby before it ultimately comes out, just to make things go that much smoother once it arrives on the scene. So another Drain Punch coming in, which does absolutely nothing because its attack is down, my defense is up, and the fact that it's stab and super effective doesn't even matter at this point. Again, barring a crit. Always have to be afraid of those crits. So we get ourselves an agility to make sure Krabby can outspeed anything it needs to, and now we go for a coil, getting an attack boost and even more defense. And it's at this point that the Glade reveals that it had bulk up all along. They probably should have been using that a long time ago, but seeing that they have it now, I think I'm just about at the point where I need to stop greeting for real, because if they match my boosts, they can absolutely start causing significant damage against Dunsparce. So we are going to get out of here and pass back into no, I'm just kidding. Krabby is actually coming out this time. I promise. Here it is. On the scene. She is ready to snip and grip the opposition. So they have another bulk up coming, but it is too late for those kinds of boosts because we are quite strong enough at this point that liquidation should just wipe it right out. And it does. I don't think that crit mattered. I'm pretty sure it would have cleaned it up regardless. But anyway, even if it hadn't crit, we have many defense boosts and probably would have been fine anyway. So Fire Bunny, all in caps with 3 exclamation marks, comes out. And that is just primed and ready for a thorough moistening from Krabby as it goes down like a sack of potatoes, which I guess for the sake of this comparison fall very quickly. I don't really know, but let's just say that it does. So Inteleon now comes out, and the Sticky Web lowers its speed as well, though we have an agility boost from earlier, so I don't think that would really matter too much. And here I go for a Max Darkness. I was considering just going for a straight knockoff, which is what Max Darkness is coming off of, but I decided that I would Dynamax in this case. Now, I really should have gone for Max Knuckle to get even more attack, but switching over from wanting to use knockoff to using a max move, I did not make that transition. And yes, it does wind up one-hit KOing Inteleon anyway, but why pass up on another free attack boost when I really didn't need to, because it would have been one-hit KO'd either way. And so in comes Pom Pom, the Galar champion. And this is the true test of Krabby's power, because this is definitely something that Krabby doesn't want to see, and Kirby rightfully decides that this is the Pokemon that they are going to Dynamax. As is often the case in these situations, I don't know why they didn't switch it in earlier if they were going to Dynamax it to try to stop me anyway. But it's here now, and it's better late than never, right? Unless you're an ambulance driver. So we max Knuckle into it, but no, its defense is too high. I needed that attack boost from the last turn. RC, what have you done? So in comes the G-Max drum solo, and I'm like, ooh, I got all those defense boosts, but oh.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg, and my arm, even my fingers.
Ah, what a shame. So close, and yet so far. So here I'm just going to send Mawile back out to lower its attack and basically just try to stall out what remains of its Dynamax, or its Gigantamax, if you will. So it is going to go for a Max Quake here, and that is going to be enough to finish off the Mawile, because this is a specially defensive Mawile. It uses Intimidate to help with its defense side, and so the rest of the investment goes to the special defense side. But we did what we attempted to do, which was stall one turn of the Dynamax, or G-Max, and also lower its attack. So here I am just going to click Toxic, because this shell gun is really not going to be causing too much damage to a G-Max Pom-Pom, even with a stab at Dragon Claw, because it's defensive, it's a middle evolution, and it has no real attack investment because it's defensive. So we are going to poison it and easily tank the incoming attack that just did practically nothing, which is a true testament to Shellgun being unbreakable. Not like Bruce Willis, but in the sense that it cannot be broken. So as you saw, that Dragon Claw did laughable damage, but the Toxic that we placed on it earlier shall finish it off. Fare thee well, Rillaboom. You ruined Krabby's day. Should be ashamed of yourself. But I know it isn't. I know in my deepest of hearts that it isn't. So out comes Garchomp, and we are again going to just set some Toxic on it, whittle it down a little bit. We do manage to eat up that Outrage because of our max defense and a Violite, which makes this a very bulky beast. You'd be surprised. It looks almost the same from the back as from the front, just without the eyes, and it's a little bit unsettling. I feel unsettled. Do you? And so here comes another Outrage, and we know we are not going to survive that one based on the damage we took last time. Even min-max rolls don't have that great of a variance. So it takes a bit more damage from the poison, and we should be comfortable in our position here to just finish it off with Sylveon. Now, physical Sylveon is nothing to write home about. Its attack is not great without getting at least a couple of curses up. However, it is locked into Outrage, which is very bad for it, and we are going to get a Body Slam off. And because we did not get any curse, we cause a very depressing amount of damage for a Stab Pixelate boosted Body Slam, but it's good enough. At least in this situation, it's good enough, because we are able to finish it off with a Stab Pixelate Quick Attack. And thus ends our dance with Kirby. Thank you, Kirby, for the match and ruining my Krabby fun. Let us head on in to battle number 2 against Robin. They have not become Nightwing just yet. But will they fall victim to the old cinch pinch? We shall soon find out as they send out Gortrum. Yes, Rillaboom again, of course. Of course, there has to be a Rillaboom on every team when I'm attempting to do silly things with Krabby, right? So I am going to lead with Araquanid and just set up the sticky web right away. They want no part of this spider and just piece right out into Togekiss. So we do get our webs up, which is always helpful because sometimes things don't work out to where an agility can be baton passed from Dunsparce. So Togekiss is here, and I suspect it may be yawning, so I go for a magic coat to bounce that back if that's the case. However, they are not yawning. They are Dynamaxing, so I wasn't quite expecting that, but it's also not a tremendous problem because at least they're getting their Dynamax out of the way early, which is helpful later on if I actually manage to get the ball rolling on a Krabby sweep, because things Dynamaxing and gaining double HP can be problematic. So out comes the Airstream, and there is no hope that Magic Coat is going to be bouncing that back, and thus Araquanid falls. But it got the webs down, and that is its primary function, so that is okay. And in its death, it used up one of their turns of Dynamax, which is also helpful. And speaking of using up their turns of Dynamax, let's send out Sylveon with its max special defense. We are going to Wish, as it uses Max Flare rather than a stab attack. That is not going to do nearly enough damage because we are careful with 252 special defense. So we are going to Wish, I wish Daddy would come home from getting cigarettes. And our leftovers is going to utterly trivialize the damage that Max Flare just did. So not much else going on here. I'm just going to get a Curse up and waste the last turn of their Dynamax. And they're actually going to switch over to using stab attacks this time. And it still does laughable damage. And so the curse goes up as this person's hopes go down after seeing the kind of damage they're outputting. Now, if they had gotten up a nasty plot and then Dynamax, that could have been scary. But anyway, our wish came true, restoring all but a smidge of health, which the leftovers is all too happy to finish off. So Sylveon is now at 100% HP, and they wasted their entire Dynamax and accomplished practically nothing with it, which is always good for us. So they switch out now, not wanting any part of what they're seeing, and Gengar comes in to eat this Pixelate Body Slam that I have selected. That actually does pretty respectable damage considering it's resisted. It just goes to show how bad Gengar's defense is, and its Cursed Body disables the Body Slam. So this seems like a prime opportunity to get Mawile in, because I can just... you smell that incoming poison attack? Smells like Teen Spirit. So if that is in fact what they go for, and I bait it out of them, then we get to switch in Mawile for free. And it is! And it has no effect, so huzzah! We got in at no additional cost as Gengar switches back out. And in comes our good friend Togekiss, which is not a good sign because we saw from the Max Flare earlier that it definitely has a fire type attack. So I get a special defense boost, and the sunlight fades, which is good. That means that the incoming fire move is going to cause less damage. So I'm going to go for another stockpile, and they do in fact have Flamethrower. And that does a pretty big chunk, just a big flaming heap right out of the side of our Mawile hide. So I go for another stockpile here and boost our defense further. And just gauging on that damage, coupled with the fact that I just boosted my special defense another stage, I figure I will very badly live another Flamethrower and then be able to baton pass over to either Krabby or Dunsparce. But that is not the case. I'm guessing they got a min roll on the Flamethrower of the previous turn, because that did a bit more damage than I was expecting, gauging from the damage it did the first time. But that's okay. We have one more opportunity to pass to the Krabby. We're not out of the race just yet, boys and girls. We're still in this. So I am going to click Agility, and they're going to switch out, which is wonderful because it means I will get my Agility off without any kind of repercussion. And the Gortrum comes back in, which is not what I wanted to see. Not when I'm trying to set up Krabby. That is one of the last things that I want to see. But we're committed now. We're going in full force. So I'm going for a coil here and raising my attack, defense, and accuracy. And the accuracy doesn't really matter because all of Krabby's attacks are 100% accurate, but the attack and defense are appreciated. So superpower does a very hefty amount of damage even after raising my defense, but it also lowers Gortram's attack, meaning that it will cause even less damage on the subsequent turn. So I'm having PTSD flashbacks about thinking I would live another flamethrower or not, but I do decide to go for another coil anyway and hope for the best. And this time, surely this time, we will actually gauge it correctly and survive the attack badly. And we do. This time it actually works out. See, this is what I was expecting last time with the Mawile. It didn't work out that time, but this time it did, which is one of the benefits of having 2 baton passers on your team. So if something goes wrong with one, like with Mawile, you got your plan B waiting in the wings. It also helps if they have wings, because winged snakes, they exist in the Pokemon universe. So we are going to baton pass into Krabby, because clearly we are insane, because who in their right mind would ever choose to willingly send Krabby out against a Rillaboom? And the answer is me. So we just eat that earthquake up. That did practically nothing. That was sad. And this time, ooh, I've got a good feeling about this time. The last time I attempted this, the Rillaboom also Dynamaxed, which allowed them to survive the Max Knuckle. This time, however, we don't have quite as high of an attack stat, but they already used up their Dynamax on their Togekiss much earlier in the match. So I'm pretty sure that this time it does not have a prayer at surviving. And it does not. It gets Max Knuckled right on out of the battle. And with it, there goes the scariest thing on the team that Krabby would have issues with. Pretty much nothing left is too concerning to Krabby now that it's got going. So next up comes Max Axe. That's what I was probably thinking about, looking at that name and seeing those X's. Max Axe. And Max Axe is not going to enjoy being fisted by Krabby. And we get another one-hit KO as well as another attack boost. It's actually going right this time. Oh boy. So Gengar comes phantasming right on out into the battlefield after disabling my move earlier. I could use Max Darkness, but knowing how frail it is, there really isn't any need, and I would rather set up the Rain for future use, because the Rain will continue to aid Krabby long after this turn ends, whereas Max Darkness would not. And Gengar returns to the spirit realm. And you stay there and think about what you did, Gengar. So Inteleon comes on in, enjoying that nice, lovely drizzle that I have enabled, and our Dynamax ends, but we are still sitting pretty here. We got all these boosts, we got the Rain. It's over a little bit of disrespect, not a lot, just a little pinch of that disrespect spice. I am going to finish Inteleon off with a not very effective move. Goodbye, Inteleon. You are also frail. Too frail for Krabby. So Togekiss comes back. You. I remember what you did to my water-type brethren at the beginning of the battle. Take that, you godless heathen! And Togekiss is not feeling very jubilif anymore. And out comes Liberlo. And Liberlo is caught in the sticky web, but it's in a far more sticky situation than it would have ever dreamed of, because it does not have any hope of surviving a Rain, Sheer Force, Life Orb, multi-attack boosted liquidation. And we defeat the Boy Wonder, having swept their entire team with Krabby. Here is the rental team. You like it? I made it myself. Use it, don't use it. Love it, hate it. The ball is in your court now. The choice is yours. Krabby's sheer power is a lot of responsibility to take on. There is no shame in not taking this rental team into your own hands. But if you do decide to accept the burden of power, do remember that these rental codes are only active for a limited time. So butter while the claws are hot. That's gonna do it for this outing. Was Krabby everything you'd hoped for, and more? Granted, you can set up practically anything to sweep provided you baton pass them enough stats, but there's still a nugget of satisfaction to be had from humbling your foes with strange off-meta babies. I also managed to get a nice sweep with the cursed Sylveon, but this video was already running long, so that battle wound up on the cutting room floor, though I may release it as a short or something, if there's interest. Time will tell. Hopefully you enjoyed this experiment in crustacean chaos. And if you did, hit the like button and the subscribe module, yada yada yada. You either are or aren't going to do those things, whether I mention it or not. We all know how things work around these parts. And if you made it this far, leave a comment wishing me a swift recovery from the stroke I apparently had when that last Cinderace came onto the field. And that's enough. Adios.